I had a thought about a series of items in Unity that are maybe like magical artifacts, and I thought maybe I would start with something like a scroll. Before I do that, I think I want to create some graphics, so I'm going to start with Inkscape. Inkscape is a nice open source graphics program. It's really great. I don't do tons of graphics, but when I do, this is one of the programs that I look to. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to Document Properties. I'm going to resize things because I'm thinking I just want something swatch size. So that done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick a circle, the ellipse tool, and I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to make an ellipse. Now I think I'm going to leave these values the same, the dark outline and the fill. Just for reference, if you want to change those things, the fill and stroke style can all be changed here. So I can go to stroke style and I can maybe make this thinner. I can go to the stroke paint and I can adjust the line on the edge. Actually, maybe I will a bit. I'll leave it in the red zone and I will leave the saturation higher. Let's just move that over a bit. And likewise, I can change the fill here as well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change this from being an object to a path. So I'm going to go up to path and I'm just going to say object to path. And now that that's the case, if I go to this item, go to the node tool, I can click on the edge of my shape. And if I double click, it'll add new nodes in. And these nodes I can move around and I can use these handles to adjust them. So I've got a little bit of an arrow happening. I'm just going to do something kind of like this. Now the other thing that I can do with these handles is I can grab the edges of them and I can slide things out further. So the square ones allow me to change the position and the round ones will allow me to change the arc. I think I'm going to add one here because I think I'd like to get a little bit of a jagged effect happening. So that done, I think I'm going to go back and I'm going to use the selector tool to reselect this and I'm going to scale this down. I can also click in this area and I can rotate it if I so choose. I think in the node tool, actually, I'm going to grab these together as a group by just box selecting around them. And I'm going to hold down Shift and get an additional one. And I'm just going to move these over a bit more to get a little bit less of a 90-degree turn and have more of an arc happening. Kind of putsy, but you get the idea. So selector tool, I'm going to grab this, I'm going to scale it down, and then I will right click on this and I will duplicate it. And I will move it here and I will do it a third time. So I've got like 3 little arrows happening. This arrow, I think I'm going to grab and I'm going to flip it so that it's going the other way. I'm going to rotate it so that this one is kind of pointing this way. And now I'm going to make adjustments to the arrows one more time. So I've got 3 arrows and they're nothing special and that's okay. I left them rough on purpose. But I think I'm going to now use filters on these. So I'm going to select these and I'm going to go up to the top and there's all these cool filters. And I'm going to take a minute to just try to get an effect that I like. So I'm going to try doing a refractive gel and that's under ridges. So now I want to try going to blurs and doing the blur tool. I'm going to check live preview and we will see what happens if I take these up a couple of notches. Then under filters, I'm going to go to protrusions and I'm going to select fire. And then finally, I'm going to go to filters and I'm going to go to shadows and glows and I'm going to try one of the shadows, maybe the drop shadow. Again, checking live preview. I will leave the shadow type on outer and I will go ahead and I will apply this. And then what I will do is I will go to filters and I'm going to go to distortions, and I think I'm going to try the rough and dilate. Yeah, that's sufficiently crazy. I love that. I love the way that these lines have gotten distorted and spread out so they're less rigid. This will work for me. I should actually probably consider saving this. And then I'm going to export this. Make sure that you pick the appropriate folder. So now I can go ahead and close or minimize this. And I'm going to go to GIMP. In a previous video, I'd shown how to make swatches of texture that look like parchment in GIMP. And I've just done that. In this case, I formatted it so that I have a long section, like as if it was a scroll that would be unwound. So at this point, I should be able to just go File and Open as Layer, navigate to the right folder, open it, and I will just go with the defaults and say OK. And there we are. Now I do see an issue with the shadow here, and I might go back to Inkscape and make an adjustment. In this case, I think I'm just going to make the canvas area larger. So I'll go back to my document properties, and instead of 200 by 200, I'm going to just go 225 by 225, and that should be just fine. Now, that's not always an appropriate way to deal with it, but in this case, we're fine, so I'm just going to go ahead and re-export, making sure that the name is specified, and I will replace the existing file. And then coming back into GIMP, I will delete this layer, and I will open a new layer, and that looks more like what I would like. And then I think to finalize this, I'm going to just go right ahead, and I'm going to export this. I'm going to create a new folder, call it scrolls, and I'll leave it as a PNG, I suppose. And I'm going to export. And then later on, I will go into Blender and I will create a scroll and I will apply this texture to that scroll.